Hello and welcome to this video, which is part of a series based on content from the new book Chess for Life, written by me, GM Matthew Sadler, and Women's International Master Natasha Reagan for Gambit Publications. One of the chapters in the book concerns Capablanca, and the reason for that is that, I was despairing about my play a few years ago, just before playing in a very strong rapid tournament. And the way that I managed to get my play on track again was to study an awful lot of Capablanca's games. I was looking for someone who could inspire me to play natural, good moves at a reasonable speed. And it worked really, really well. What I actually did there was to look at lots and lots of Capablanca's games and divide up all his games into themes. I must have picked out about 25 or 30 themes of his, each with at least 4 or 5 examples. And it really helped me, really gave me a good basis for taking decisions and for spotting ideas in positions. So as you can imagine, Capablanca's games have got quite a special part in my life, and I'm always very interested whenever Capablanca gets mentioned. And I was recently reading an interesting book by the great Russian coach Mark Dvoretsky called School of Chess Excellence, Volume 4. And in that book, he shows the game Bareev against Shirov, which is the one we're looking at now, and he quotes a comment of Bareev's. In this position, Bareev thought for a while and then played a move which he was very proud, and that was Queen e5. And what does Bareev say about this? He says the following: normally, White's advantage amounts to only half a pawn, and one may gain the impression that Black's impregnable knight on d5 guarantees him a quiet life. But the centralisation of the queen on e5, one of Capablanca's favourite techniques, shows that it is not altogether so. In the position there's an open file, and in view of the fact that an exchange of rooks is unfavourable for Black, White can develop his initiative. That little aside, one of Capablanca's favourite techniques, really caught my attention because I'm afraid I have to say that centralisation of the queen wasn't a theme that I'd actually picked out. So I was, as soon as I read it, I was racking my brains, thinking, "My goodness! I mean, did I miss it? Did I completely miss this theme?" I started to think about all the games of Capablanca I could think of when centralising the queen, and actually, it's a good comment because I think you can really make a case for it. So what I wanted to do was to show you a number of games in which Capablanca just centralised his queen and used the power of a centralised queen in order to draw together and knit together his whole position. In this case, this queen e5 move was extremely important. The queen on e5 defends b2, stops the black queen from centralising itself on d4, and also covers squares like c7 and b8, which helps fight the c-file and also restricts the movement of the black rook. Let's have a look at a few games of Capablanca's now, and you can see why Bareev may have mentioned it as a typical stratagem of Capablanca. This is a game now, Capablanca against Villegas, and it's quite a famous game, quoted in Irving Chernev's Capablanca's Best Endgames book. I think we'll take it from about move 20. A lot of pieces have been exchanged in this position, but Capablanca does have an advantage. He's got control of the d-file, and he's also got his queenside pawn majority, and those two factors together mean that he'll find it reasonably easy to create a pass pawn on the queen side. It is very instructive, though, to see how Capablanca manages to not only create that pass pawn, but also turn that pawn into a formidable attacking unit. So the game proceeded queen c7, rook d1, rook d8, b4. Capablanca's just activating his queenside majority as soon as possible. Takes and queen takes. Obvious move from White. The queen is coming to the d-file and stopping Black from taking control of the d-file. But notice how strong the queen is in that central position. We get a little bit more. Rook c8, rook c1. The rook has to vacate the d-file, so Black can get a little bit of control of the d-file. But now the c-pawn is protected, and it can actually now advance to c5 and eventually to c6. Black took control of the d-file. Queen keeps control of c5. King f8. So black is anticipating a sequence like c5 takes queen takes c5, for example, when the queens come off. And so he's trying to get his king to the centre as quickly as possible. And now just a very nice little idea from Capablanca. He's kept his queen on d4, on e3, and now he makes use of the other central square. Plays c5, b takes c5, and now the point is that the obvious b takes c5 would allow black to play queen c6, blockading the advanced c-pawn, and white would still have a little bit of work to do in order to push it through. What Capablanca does here, he plays this beautiful move queen e4, exploiting the fact that black has just played king f8, so he's attacking the pawn on h7, and also taking control of the c6 square before he takes back on c5. So black played rook d5, and white was able to take on c5. If rook takes c5, then queen b4 wins the rook, again exploiting that king on f8. And, well, black played g6 to cover the attack on the pawn on h7, and white managed to get c6 in. Yeah, I mean, this beautiful move, queen e4, just exploiting that slight mistake, king f8, has given white, well, absolutely fantastic initiative. The queen on c7 is tied down to stopping the pawn on c6, so black's got huge problems here. The game actually finished fairly quickly. Black made a little blunder. He went king g7, white went a4, just trying to get that pawn up the board as quickly as possible. Gaining space. I'm sure if black had just stood still, Capablanca would have advanced a few more pawns as well. In the game, black went rook d6, and white was able to make use of yet another central square with the queen. He went queen e5 check, king f8, and queen takes d6. And black resigned, because after queen d6, c7, it's impossible to stop the pawn queening, and white's just a rook up. So this was quite a nice little game with the queen hopping around d4, e3, e4, e5, these central squares. The next game is a simultaneous game against Berasain. And I just noticed this one moment in the game, in actual fact. It was this position. Well, I mean, Capablanca's clearly better here. The bishop on d6 is very poor. The knight on b3 is a much better piece. Double pawns as well, and white's doing very nicely. You might expect, white to play maybe rook d5 or something, line up on the c-pawn. Capablanca came up with a different plan, a very nice plan, but it began with this wonderful move, queen d5, just putting the queen on an outpost, centralising it beautifully, and he followed up on the next move with this lovely little idea, knight a5. The queen on d5 is supporting knight c6, so black is unable to take the pawn on b2, and after queen e8 he went knight c4. Just a very nice idea, very nice way of getting his knight to c4. But first involved that centralising the queen on d5. This is another famous game of Capablanca's, a quite beautiful ending. Also, again, testament to the power of the queenside majority. It just struck me though. It's this beautiful play of Capablanca. I mean, white's just played queen c6, and exchanging the queens on c6 is not bad. But of course, white would take on c6 and attack the pawn on b5, and black would lose the tempo. So what does Capablanca do? He plays this move queen e5, centralising the queen again, and white continues to try and exchange off queens, and that's great. Black exchanges queens, but on e4 instead of c6, which means that the bishop on e4 is not attacking the pawn on b5, and that actually gives black the time additional time to activate his queenside majority. Again, just using that centralisation of the queen to extract some extra advantages from the white position. This next game is a very nice example of Capablanca's desire to centralise his queen. I think we can just start off just at this stage. Capablanca's black against Nimzowitsch. This is from New York 1927, a tournament, very strong tournament that Capablanca won with an enormous score. And I mean, he completely outclassed most of his opponents. Here he's, with very simple means, he's got a slight advantage. The pawn structure is symmetrical, but it's very hard for white to actually develop his pieces properly, or very hard. White's still got to do a little bit of work to do that. Doesn't really want to play e4, because then that would weaken f2, would open the line of the bishop against f2, and it would also give black a nice square on d4 for his bishop. So white decides that he's going to play rook b1, and then play b4 and bishop b2. I mean, we're very close to a draw here, but we're not quite there. Now, what does Capablanca do? I have to say that I didn't really spot his idea when I was playing through the game. But it's, well, I mean, when you see this game, you really understand Bereyev's comment, because what Capablanca does, he takes two moves now to centralise his queen. So he plays queen e5. One of the ideas being that if b4, he can play bishop d6, attacking g3, and if, for example, white plays g3 to cover the h2 square, then black can play queen e4 and follow up with rook c2. Gorgeous use of those central squares for the queen. So what Nimzowitsch did was he played g3. The basic idea is that, well, queen e4 is maybe slightly less fearsome because there's no open line for the black rook on c8. So after queen e4, for example, you might be able to just play bishop d2 and then develop with bishop c3. So what Capablanca did here was he played queen d5. And this is a very nice move in actual fact. So Capablanca is preparing to bring his queen to b3, just to hold back that b2 pawn and just nestle into to those slightly weak white queenside pawns. So Nimzowitsch played b4, bishop f8, and bishop b2, and it looks like he's just about managed to get things right. But here Capablanca played a very nice idea. He went queen a2, just annoying the white pawn on a3. The bishop on b2 can't move away, and after rook a1, he just came back with queen b3, settling on that b3 square after all, and supporting the rook on c2. Now, the game ended with quite a famous little combination from Capablanca. It goes a little bit outside our theme, but what you notice there was that from this position on move 20, Capablanca, really trying to make the most of a tiny advantage, spent two moves transferring his queen to the centre. Queen e5, g3, and then queen d5. So when I started thinking about Bereyev's comment and I saw these games, I really thought, yeah, that's right, that was one I'd missed. That really was a theme. Capablanca centralising his queen and making enormous use both of the influence that the queen exerts from that central square, and also making use of the squares to which the queen can move, because of course from the centre the queen exerts unparalleled influence over all sides of the board. It can move to all four corners of the board. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. One of those things, when you look through themes of a great player, it stays with you for the rest of your life, and you just get one comment from another player in a book, and you've learned something new just like that.